Hello and a very good morning. You're watching the breakfast news on Rajya Sabha television with me, Frank Pereira. Here are this morning's headlines. Pakistan claims JEM chief among 31 people arrested in the Pathankot Air Base attack case. Government says it is yet to receive confirmation. No decision yet of Foreign Secretary level talks. Final call expected to be taken after the return of NSA Ajit Doval from Paris today. In big relief for farmers, Union Cabinet approves implementation of the crop insurance scheme. Insurance cover to go up to 50% of total crop area from the current 23%. Congress targets centre over poor performance on key economic indicators, says government is not serious on getting GST passed. And the United States thanks Iran for prompt release of 10 sailors who were arrested for entering its territorial waters, says prompt action demonstrates usefulness of diplomacy. Well, Pakistan claims it has arrested 31 people, including Jaish-e-Mohammed chief Maulana Azhar Masood, in course of its investigations into the attack on the Pathankot airbase. But the Indian government says that it hasn't received any confirmation on this. Further, it's still undecided on going ahead with the Foreign Secretary level talks. Last night, Prime Minister Narendra Modi met Foreign Minister Sushma Swaraj to discuss the developing situation. But the final decision was deferred till the scheduled return of NSA Ajit Doval from Paris today.
Contrary to reports from Pakistan, the Indian government said it had no confirmation about Jaish-e-Mohammed chief Maulana Masood Azhar being arrested. The reported Pakistani crackdown comes 2 days ahead of the scheduled Foreign Secretary level talks between India and Pakistan. In the wake of the Pakistani assertions, Foreign Secretary S. Jaishankar and Foreign Ministry spokesperson Vikas Swarup called on Foreign Minister Sushma Swaraj at her residence in New Delhi.
Yes, EM has now gone to meet the Prime Minister. The decision on the foreign secretary level talks will only be taken after that meeting.
So any official communication from Pakistani side today? Any kind of...
No, we have no official confirmation. We have seen the press release that has been put out by the Pakistani side, but we have no official confirmation on the arrest of Masood Azhar.
News reports on Wednesday quoted Pakistani officials saying that Islamist hardliner Azhar was detained 2 days ago along with his brother and brother-in-law, and will remain in protective custody for at least 30 days. They also claim that offices of the group have been sealed. The arrest of others was announced in a press release from the Pakistani Prime Minister's office. Pakistan also said a special investigation team will be sent to Pathankot, adding that considerable progress has been made in the investigations.
It is good that they have arrested some people, but who are they? Are they lower functionary officials of the Jaish-e-Mohammed, or are they really involved in this operation, or they were just picked up some people and then they'll interrogate and release them? This will not help solve the problem. We want Pakistani government to take this matter very seriously, investigate properly, arrest all those people who were responsible for this attack.
It's a very good news that the Pakistanis have detained 2 of the terrorists in their custody now. That is a clear indication that the Prime Minister of Pakistan is very serious about the commitment of fighting terrorism and fighting extremism. Our extremists who are already taking advantage of India and Pakistan bring bilateral relation and confidence building measure. So this is a very positive point, that there will be a confidence building measure if the Pakistanis act swiftly and making sure that these terrorists and their infrastructure is totally destroyed.
Pakistan claims it's serious about investigating the role of Jaish-e-Mohammed that allegedly sent 6 militants to attack the Pathankot air base. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And joining me for a chat right now on the phone line is our correspondent Akhilesh Suman. Akhilesh, what's the latest as far as the Foreign Secretary level talks are concerned?
Frank, the latest is that around 4 p.m. today, there will be some announcement from India side. The External Affairs Ministry spokesman will talk to the media formally, and what decisions are taken by the government of India will be announced that day. There has been dramatic twists and turns since yesterday till tomorrow morning, because yesterday there was news that Jaish-e-Mohammed chief has been arrested, and till now 31 people has been arrested who are linked with Pathankot incident. But till now there is no official confirmation. NSA is in Paris, and there are also reports and there are also some information that he might have met Pakistan National Security Advisor Mr. Nasser Janjua. And if that has happened, then Mr. Doval will reach here today morning, and after that there will be some meeting with Prime Minister, and Prime Minister take a final call. So it is a really catch-22 situation, whether the information that has been leaked through media by Pakistan, whether it is true or not. Because India till yesterday was thinking that it is a right step in right direction, and they are not expecting anything very dramatic. But whether Masood Azhar has been arrested, whether has been detained, or just he has been kept in safe custody so that there is no harm to him. So these are the things that India is trying to assess. And I think once it is confirmed that what is the action that has been reliable action, that has been according to the words that has been given by Pakistan, or it is just window dressing. So this thing has to be arrested, and at around 4 p.m. today, there will be announcement by India whether Foreign Secretary level talks are going to take place tomorrow or not.
I guess nothing else remains to be done. We'll just have to wait for that press conference there at 4 p.m. and figure out what exactly is going to happen with the Foreign Secretary level talks. Thank you so much, Akhilesh Suman, for joining us there with those details. Well, moving on now, Army Chief General Dalbir Singh Suhag put out a strong statement saying that the Indian Army was ready to take up any challenge. His remark comes just a day after Defence Minister Manohar Parrikar said that those who wreak terror havoc in India will be paid back in the same coin. General Suhag also dismissed reports that there was a lack of coordination among the teams during the Pathankot attack.
I would like to assure the nation that your army is highly motivated, singularly focused, fully prepared, and ready to respond to any threats or challenges to our national security.
Close on the heels of Defence Minister Manohar Parrikar's remark on the Pathankot attack, warning of a payback in the same coin, Army Chief General Dalbir Singh said on Wednesday that Army was ready to take up any challenge. Even though he chose not to comment directly on Parrikar's remark, he blamed the Pakistani army for having derailed the peace process a number of times in the past.
पाकिस्तान आर्मी का रोल है, उसके आप हर रोज़ पढ़ भी रहे हैं पेपर्स के अंदर और न्यूज़ के अंदर आ भी रहा है, टीवी के अंदर. हमने जो एविडेंस हमें मिले हैं वो एविडेंस दे दिए हैं. डिटेल्स ऑफ एविडेंस क्या क्या दिए हैं वो तो NIA और सिक्योरिटी एजेंसी का काम है, वो उन्होंने किया है, उसका डिटेल में बात भी करेंगे. लेकिन डेफिनेटली हमारे पास मैंने खुद देखा है वहाँ पर मार्किंग्स जो हैं मेडिसिन के ऊपर मार्किंग्स पाकिस्तान की हैं. सिमिलरली बाकी कुछ इक्विपमेंट्स हैं उनके ऊपर मार्किंग्स हैं. तो उनसे साफ जाहिर होता है कि वो आए तो वहाँ से हैं. जहाँ तक इन्वॉल्वमेंट है वो अभी ये एविडेंस दिए हैं, उसके ऊपर आई थिंक जांच जारी है.
The Army Chief's remarks come in the backdrop of reports that Pakistani establishment was not on board with their Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif when it came to talks with India. On Pathankot attack, General Suhag said there was no lack of coordination.
I want to inform that it is not 2 columns, there were 8 columns of the army, and each column had almost 70 people. And also in addition, the para special forces team was also there. Therefore, that report I just want to clarify. The NSG had initially just 1 team, but army had 8 teams. And on ground, it was the army brigade commander who was controlling the army columns.
The Army Chief said this while addressing his annual press conference ahead of Army Day celebrations. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, it's time for a short break now, but news and updates will continue on the other side. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Gyan Chopper is the ancient version of Indian snakes and ladders. This intriguing game was popular among the old, the young, and the rulers as well. The chopper has its origin in the Jain philosophy. It tells the story of virtue. Each square, in turn, also narrates a message of wisdom.
Welcome back. You're watching Rajya Sabha television. Well, the union government has cleared the new crop insurance scheme, the Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana. This scheme will have a premium as low as 2% for Kharif crops and 1.5% for Rabi crops. Here's more.
आज की कैबिनेट ने यह फैसला किया है कि एक नई फसल बीमा योजना लागू की जाएगी जिसे प्रधानमंत्री फसल बीमा योजना कहा जाएगा.
Announcing the decision made at Wednesday's cabinet meeting, the Home Minister termed the new crop insurance scheme as a shield to protect farmers from weather changes. The new scheme aims to increase the insurance coverage to 50% of the total crop area of 194.40 million hectare from the existing level of 23%. The centre will incur an expenditure of around 9,000 crore rupees.
खरीफ में 2% और रबी में 1.5%. और पहले 15% तक था. यानी पहले ज्यादा लगाओ और कम पाओ और अब कम लगाओ और ज्यादा पाओ. तो 11% के कैपिंग के कारण नुकसान की पूरी भरपाई नहीं होती थी. उसको इस नई बीमा योजना के अंतर्गत उस कैपिंग को हटा दिया गया है.
The cabinet also gave its approval to the constitution of an empowered committee of secretaries to process the recommendations of the 7th Central Pay Commission. Vishal Dahiya, Rajya Sabha TV, Delhi.
Well, joining me on the phone line right now is our correspondent Vishal Dahiya. Vishal, you know, as far as the cabinet meeting was concerned yesterday, what were some of the key outcomes?
Well, the most important outcome, Frank, was the crop insurance scheme because this was a much-awaited decision from the cabinet. This was something which was talked about for quite a while now, and finally the decision has come about. Interestingly, if you look at the crop insurance scheme, then it's not the case that there was no scheme earlier. Indeed, in fact, there were two schemes which were put in place, one in 1999, then another in 2005. But there were certain shortcomings which this time around the cabinet seems to have taken note of and ensured that those shortcomings are overcome in the new crop insurance scheme. First is the capping of the capping structure, which actually meant that in the earlier schemes, in case of the compensations sought by the farmers, then there was a capping scheme of 11%, resulting in the farmers not getting the complete compensation or the complete sum assured. But in this scheme, there has been no cap, so the capping has been removed, clearly indicating that the farmers will now get the full compensation of the losses they report. Also, there are certain more changes which have been made in this scheme. One is that post-harvest losses, that is, once the harvesting has been done and the crops are still lying in the field, and there are some losses to the farmers due to weather changes, be it heavy rains or floods, then up to 2 weeks after the harvesting, the losses can also be covered under the scheme. Third, and another important part is that situations like the landslide, inundation and hailstorm, such situations were not covered extensively under the previous schemes, but in this particular scheme, all these situations will be covered. And then the most lucrative part of this insurance scheme is the lower premium. In earlier schemes, we saw the premium was on the higher side, but this time around, the government, in a bid to attract farmers to take this crop insurance scheme, has lowered the insurance to just 2% for the Kharif crops and 1.5% for the Rabi crops. This is clearly done with an aim to ensure that 50% of the crop area in the country is brought under the crop insurance scheme. As of now, it's just 23%.
Indeed, you know, Vishal, there are several questions that emerge as well, and one of them being, of course, why did the scheme take this long? And, you know, what kind of an impact is it really going to have on the farmer suicide rate?
Well, there have been schemes which have been brought in from time to time, Frank, as far as the farming sector is concerned, crop insurance is concerned. As I was saying, one was brought first time in 99. Then there was some improvement which was made, and a new improved scheme was brought in 2005 during the UPA regime. But then there have been, concerns being raised by the farmers groups as well as experts over this period of time, pointing out towards some shortcomings in these schemes and exhorting the successive governments to try and bring a better, improved scheme. And that is what seems to have prompted the current dispensation to bring out this new crop insurance scheme. As I was pointing out, the salient features of the scheme, now these salient features themselves make it different from the previous one. The main aim clearly out here seems to be try and increase the area of crop, which is brought under insurance, increase that particular area percentage. As of now, out of the overall crop area, it's just 23% is the figure which is right now under the insurance cover. But the government right now plans to increase it to 50% over the period of 3 years. The target which has been set is 30% for the first year, 40% for the second year, and 50% for the third year. Clearly, this is going to bring an extra financial burden for the central government, and that financial burden will increase from the current estimated amount of 3,000 crore to 9,000 crore in terms of premium which the government will have to pay.
All right, Vishal Dahiya, we'll have to leave to that. Thank you so much for joining us there with those details. Moving on now, the Congress has targeted the government yesterday for its failures on the economic front. Senior party leader Jairam Ramesh claimed that contrary to the belief that the Congress was stalling the GST bill, it was the BJP and the Prime Minister who were opposing it. The BJP dismissed the charge and expressed confidence of an economic recovery soon.
The Congress on Wednesday accused the government of botching up on all economic indicators. Party leader Jairam Ramesh asserted that while manufacturing growth and outward shipments had plummeted, inflation is only ballooning. He also accused the government of misleading the nation on the passage of GST bill and claimed that the top leadership of the BJP is actually opposed to the bill.
नवंबर 2015 के जो आंकड़े निकले हैं, 4 साल, 1 महीना नहीं, 1 साल नहीं, 4 साल में सबसे कम दर नवंबर 2015 में देखने को मिला है। ये रहा औद्योगिक विकास, इंडस्ट्रियल प्रोडक्शन, मेक इन इंडिया।
The ruling party refuted the charge and asserted that the NDA government is steering the economy onto a high growth trajectory.
The whole world knows, everybody knows that GST has been blocked by the parliament. They are trying their maximum to derail the economic agenda, but the government, NDA's government is committed that we are going for a strong economic push. If you see, there has been in November figures are low, but if you go see in October figures, there were more than 9.5 growth in the IIP figures.
On Tuesday, the government released data that showed both the industrial index of production and consumer price index under stress. While the consumer price index inflation edged up for the 5th straight month in December to 5.6%, industrial output contracted by 3.2% in November. Kriti Mishra's report for Rajya Sabha Television.
Well, amid a flip-flop over government formation in Jammu and Kashmir, the BJP on Wednesday maintained that the centre was committed to the state and will continue to work for its development. This after the PDP tried to end the uncertainty, saying that party chief Mehbooba Mufti would be the next chief minister of the state. The party also says that the tie-up with the BJP was intact and would continue on the basis of the agenda of alliance reached between the two parties last year, even as PDP refused to give a time frame for the formation of the new government.
देखिए ऐसा है कि काल तो उनको लेना है क्योंकि उनके लीडर मुफ्ती साहब आज बीच में नहीं हैं, तो डेफिनेटली आगे कैसे चलना है तो काल तो पीडीपी को लेना है। तो उसी का जब भी हमें कम्युनिकेट करेंगे उसके बाद आगे बात जो भी होगा और पॉजिटिव होगा, मुझे लगता है ऐसी कोई बात नहीं है।
Well, after looking at J&K, let's now shift focus to the political situation in Arunachal Pradesh. The Supreme Court on Wednesday ordered that the proceedings of Arunachal Pradesh Assembly will not be held till Friday. This after the Apex Court decided to start hearing various pleas on the ongoing political battle in the state starting today. The political battle pertains to two sides of the Congress party, with Chief Minister Nabam Tuki on one side and 14 dissident Congress MLAs on the other. The Supreme Court's intervention comes in the wake of a Guwahati High Court order okaying the dissident faction of removing Speaker Nabam Rebia. Rebia was removed from the post by 14 rebel Congress MLAs and BJP MLAs on December 16th in an assembly session presided over by the Deputy Speaker in a community hall in Itanagar. Before removing Rebia from the post, the Deputy Speaker had also quashed disqualification of the rebel Congress legislators. Later, various decisions of the Governor and the Deputy Speaker were challenged by Rebia in the Guwahati High Court. Let's take a look at the news and events lined up for today in our segment, The Day Ahead. Union Transport Minister Nitin Gadkari will meet members of the automobile industry following the government's move to directly implement the Bharat Stage 6 emissions norm by April 2020, skipping BS5 standards. Gadkari's meeting comes amid concerns raised by automakers over the strict emission norms. Heads of over 30 top car makers, including BMW, Honda and Volkswagen, will be meeting him. The Delhi High Court will hear private schools' petitions against using their buses in the odd-even trial today. The court has sought the Delhi government's response on a plea against its order to private unaided schools to provide their buses to be run as public transport during the odd-even scheme from January 1st to 15th. The wholesale price index numbers for the month of December will be released today. Two major data, the Consumer Price Index and Index of Industrial Production, released on Tuesday, were weak as the CPI rose to 5.61% in December from 5.41% in November. The wholesale price index has been negative for a year, which indicates poor industrial demand besides falling commodity prices. Well, it's time for another breather on the program right now, but much more lined up on the other side. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching Rajya Sabha television. Well, the 10 US sailors arrested by Iran on Tuesday for entering its territorial waters were released yesterday. They were captured by Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps when one of their two vessels broke down while training in the Gulf. The release came after it was determined that their incursion was unintentional. The US thanked Iran for the swift release of its sailors. Secretary of State John Kerry said that the resolution of the matter was testament to the critical role played by diplomacy in keeping the country safe.
I want to underscore how pleased I am that our sailors were safely returned into United States hands this morning. I also want to thank the Iranian authorities for their cooperation and quick response. This kind of issue was able to be peacefully resolved and efficiently resolved, and that is a testament to the critical role that diplomacy plays in keeping our country safe, secure, and strong.
Well, let's now take a look at some other international news in our World Wrap. A deadly avalanche hit a high school group skiing in the French Alps on Wednesday, killing 2 students and a Ukrainian skier accompanying them. 3 others were reported to have been seriously injured. Local media reported that the avalanche was triggered after several groups of skiers dislodged a large slab of snow. Mountain emergency services were immediately pressed into service for rescue. Other students were brought back to safety. Local authorities said that the area had been closed off prior to the accident amid high avalanche warnings. It's unclear why the group ventured on to the ski trail. The UN Special Envoy for Syria, Staffan de Mistura, met ambassadors of all 5 permanent members of the Security Council in Geneva on Wednesday. The meeting included discussions on how the UN Security Council will implement the next steps of the UNSC resolution and a roadmap for a peace process in Syria involving talks between the government and the opposition members. The talks are slated to take place under the UN auspices in Geneva on January 25th. The Islamic State suicide bomber who killed 10 German tourists in the heart of Istanbul on Tuesday entered Turkey as a refugee from Syria and went undetected as he was not on any watch lists. Prime Minister Ahmet Davutoglu gave out this information on Wednesday, saying the bomber registered himself with the immigration authorities in the city a week ago. He also confirmed that the Turkish security forces detained 4 people in connection with the attack. Turkey accused Syrian President Bashar al-Assad and his allies, including Iran and Russia, of cooperating with the Islamic State in the Syrian regime's efforts to destroy Syrian opposition forces. Top nuclear envoys from the United States, Japan and South Korea agreed that a meaningful new sanctions resolution was needed for North Korea after its latest nuclear test. The envoys also called on China to do its part to rein in its isolated neighbor. The World Economic Forum cancelled its invitation to North Korea at its annual meeting in Davos. In defiance of a UN ban, North Korea conducted its 4th nuclear test last week, claiming to have tested its first hydrogen bomb. Liberia is set to be declared Ebola-free today for the 3rd time in a year, as West Africa appears to finally be over the epidemic that left over 11,000 people dead since it began in early 2014. Though Sierra Leone had the highest number of Ebola cases at 14,122 compared to Liberia's 10,675, the death toll was highest in Liberia at 4,809. Hundreds of health workers who treated Ebola sufferers were themselves infected, with some dying due to a lack of training and equipment to deal with the disease not previously seen in that part of West Africa. The outbreak infected nearly 3 lakh people in the West African region. Well, that's it on this edition of the Bulletin. Have a good day.